Good evening. We now call to order the special meeting public work session for Thursday, March 7th, 2019. We'll ask that you please stand for a moment of silence, followed by a pledge of allegiance and mission statement by Mr. Lamb. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
The mission of Portsmouth Public School Division is to engage all students in learning that will foster academic excellence and responsible citizenship.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Agenda item 2.5, attendance, roll call vote. Ms. Kathy.
Present. Ms. Atkinson. Here. Mr. Barnes.
Here.
Mr. Lamb.
Present.
Mrs. Shoemake.
Present.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Reverend Patillo.
Present.
7 members present, 2 members absent.
And Mr. Parent, he's home recuperating. He's been under the weather the last couple of days. And Ms. Duncan Hines, she has a good reason to be absent. It's her son's birthday on today. So we all wish him a happy birthday from the meeting.
Dr. Wynn is under the weather.
And Dr. Wynn is also under the weather on today. Agenda item 2.6, approval of the agenda for March 7, 2019. Roll call vote, Ms. Kathy.
Need a motion.
Oh, motion, I'm sorry.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by made by Ms. Williams, second by Mr. Lamb. Roll call vote, Ms. Kathy.
Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Reverend Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Agenda item 3.1, consideration of the board's annual summer retreat dates of April the 9th through the 10th, 2019, which will be held at TCC.
Yes.
Again, we need a motion.
August.
I'm sorry, August 9th through 10th, 2019. And we need a
Move for approval. Second.
motion is made by Ms. Allen, approved by Ms. Atkinson. Roll call vote, Ms. Kathy.
Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Reverend Patillo.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Now, for an exciting discussion item 3.2, our communications annual report and update by Ms. Sharice Newsom.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Patillo, members of the school board, Dr. Bracy, staff, and everyone assembled here today. I am delighted to share with you the annual communications update. Tonight, I will discuss the accomplishments of my department as well as strategic initiatives. I will also talk about our expansion of multimedia, some of the new things we're doing to engage families and the community, and I will discuss our opportunities for growth as well as some goals for the upcoming year. At the end, I will entertain any questions and comments that you have. While I'm sure many of you are familiar with the core responsibilities of my office for the purpose of the viewing public, I listed some of the core activities that I'm involved with, and I'll call your attention to the final 2 bullet points. In my role as Communications Director, I serve as a state-mandated FOIA officer processing Freedom of Information Act requests, and in 2018, 69 requests were processed by my office. Also, I address media inquiries and I serve as a spokesperson, and last year we appeared in the news 769 times. That is 769 calls, emails, text messages from reporters. Actually, it's probably double that from reporters throughout the course of the year. In your board packet and board docs, there is a detailed media analysis report that is compiled with our media monitoring service, Meltwater. It gives you a good idea of our top positive news articles, such as our students who graduated from TCC and the school division with a degree and a diploma. And it also shares with you some of our negative news coverage. For example, the parent who was accidentally shot at Fountaindale Elementary School. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those, but otherwise the report gives you a detailed breakdown. And finally, for some accomplishments, this past year, we launched a customer service program after completing the first ever customer service audit. At your retreat last summer, I shared with you that mystery shoppers visited our schools, called, sent emails, and really assessed the level of customer service that we're providing in schools and key departments. And what they found was encouraging, that many of our schools are doing a great job welcoming parents, but that we definitely have room to grow. So this past year, we've spent quite a bit of time training more than 100 frontline staff, office managers, secretaries, people answering the phones, all of our principals, our executive staff, on etiquette, conflict resolution, customer assistance, and internal relations. Customer service is so critical in the school division because if parents feel welcomed in our schools, then they're more likely to be involved in their children's education. Kids whose parents are involved in their education do better in school. So the person who's on the other end of that phone, who's welcoming that visit in that front office, they have a direct impact on how successful our students can be. So I am very thankful for the support of Dr. Bracy, my colleagues, all the principals and staff who have gone on this journey with us to improve the level of service that we're delivering in our buildings. It is a hallmark program of the school division, actually a reinvention, I should say. I am told that Chairman Parent led customer service programs when he served as staff development director several years ago. But in this iteration, it is definitely comprehensive and we are accomplishing great things. This past school year, we also revamped our school public relations program by formalizing it with a job description, adding a stipend that you approved in the pay plan last year, and we provided some key tools that they need to help spread the good news. They needed cameras and iPads and training on how to use those cameras and iPads. And I want to thank the Office of Information Technology, our instructional resource teachers, who've really helped equip our staff with the tools that they need to succeed. They funnel that good news up to me, and I'm able to push it out on our website, on our social media accounts, and also to the mainstream news media. So we're doing a really great job of telling our story. Additionally, we conducted a social media audit with the help of an outside consultant reviewing 49 school division and school accounts. We are a very social school division. And what we found is that, again, we're doing a really great job, but there are some areas that we can improve. So we have developed some social media guidelines that we tested first with the navigators, and we've rolled them out to all staff. And we have also provided tips and that they can use when they're posting photos, but to also be mindful and careful about what they're posting online. We expanded multimedia communications, launching our first live school board meetings. I'm going to give you all a hand because you were very supportive of that, and I'm very thankful that you all are committed to transparency and making it more easy and convenient for people who cannot attend to stay up to date with what's going on in the division. Also included in your board packet is a detailed report of the first 3 months worth of statistics of those live meetings, but just to give you a sample in tonight's presentation, there are an average of 4,900 page views for those meetings. A page view often, but not always, correlates to a person, so you have hundreds of people who've been tuning into your school board meetings, which is phenomenal. Another point that I'll highlight is that when I look at the data, there is something called a bounce rate, which is the number of people who come to your site, watch the meeting, and leave, and the percentage of those people who stay and peruse other sections of your website. Well, we're doing a really great job. That number has started at about 45%. It has decreased to about 29%, which basically means more people are watching the school board live videos, and once they come, they go to other pages of our website to learn about the great things going on. So our message is getting out there, which is phenomenal. Additionally, we increased text message recipients. Last year, we rolled out text messages to families. And I'll also explain why this is so important. You know, nearly 70% of our students come from financially stressed homes, and they may not always have access to a computer or to the internet. However, parents of all backgrounds want to be in the know about what's going on in schools. And when you send a text message, it is a very convenient way for parents to find out what is going on, whether it's something major, such as a school closing because of a weather event, or a link to a school newsletter. So providing text messages to our families has been a great tool to get the word out in a way that's convenient for the students and families that we serve. And in 1 year, when we had 0 to start, after the initial launch to date, we have more than 5,500 families, which is about a quarter of the students and families we serve. Additionally, we have produced more videos across the board, but particularly on social media. As you can see, those stats are continuously going up. And that is due in large part to the alignment of our PSAT TV staff to my department. That was done about a year ago, and I am just very thankful and appreciative of PSAT's hard work, the ladies behind the camera, who do a phenomenal job in putting together videos for the school division. I am always going to them with ideas and requests, and they're always responsive and doing a great job of getting out there and telling our story. So that would not be possible without their help and support, so I'm just very, very grateful for them grabbing that vision and running with it. And we had a video to show you tonight. Unfortunately, that's not possible, but my office is also in charge of some strategic marketing campaigns, which helps to spread our message, our key messages, to a broader audience. And this year, for the first time in recent history, we were on TV. Did anybody see our commercials? Well, I'm sorry that you didn't, but you can see them on our website. But we appeared on Wavy and WVEC during Teacher Appreciation Week. We did a little highlight of our Teacher of the Year. At that time, Mr. Trewartha. We also did one for school attendance using our hashtag Everyday Counts. And we also ran ads on our increased substitute pay. So we are getting the word out, specifically our key initiatives, so that the broader community knows what's going on and they can feel more invested in our schools. And a few projects that we have in progress include a renovation of the TV station over at IC Northcombe High School. This is aligned with the relatively new TV production course that you approved. And the students are really hands-on. We got tons of new equipment, a new head-end, which is essentially your core broadcasting system for the TV channel. It's being upgraded, so that will also be available online. And it comes with just a number of software and editing programs to get the news out. So in these pictures, you can see that painting is going on. We're getting new sets. One will be dedicated for students, and one will be a new set, so we're really excited about that. And cameras, and it's going to upgrade. The project is scheduled for completion by the end of this school year, but right now it's going along really well. And also rebranding. I know we've talked at length about the need to rebrand the school division with a new logo, new theme, new tagline, and we are working on it. The last time I gave my annual report, you all gave me some clear feedback to get students involved in the process so that the logo, the brand, the identity really reflects who they are. So last, I believe October, November, I worked with Mr. Martin Burke's class at Churchton High School, their graphic design class, learning Photoshop and other programs on a rebranding campaign. Now tonight, I will not be showing you the wonderful designs that they came up with because we are trying to keep tabs on what the new logo could look like. But the students all gave wonderful presentations using a number of nautical themes, incorporating some of the colors that we currently have, and also doing a mix of new themes. These students took this project far beyond what I could have even imagined. And so I am very proud of them. We will be taking their designs to an outside agency to refine so that it matches, fully our brand and concepts and things. But the students were involved in this project. So shout out to Mr. Brooks' class at Churchton High School. They did a phenomenal job. And to wrap up, there are some goals that we will definitely work toward this coming school year, which include introducing a new logo and tagline for the school division, as well as expanding our customer service training to more school-based staff and establishing a recognition program. Our staff members are doing a really good job, and so we want to highlight the good things that they're doing. Also, we want to install digital signage in our schools and facilities. As part of the TV renovation project, we're getting new software and equipment that will help make this a reality. I'm working with the Office of Information Technology to identify the best solution for that. But we know that part of customer service and welcoming people is providing information and good news about the schools from the moment they step onto one of our properties and enter the door. We also plan to conduct a family communication survey to measure our efforts to see if they're reaching parents in a way that's convenient for them. And finally, we need to invest in and maintain accessibility to our website and videos. And basically what this means is that increasingly school divisions and governmental agencies are being scrutinized for their websites and videos to ensure that people with visual and hearing disabilities can access them with their screen readers or other aids and devices. And so about a year ago, our website went through some changes in color palette and design to make sure that we were following the letter of the law. And we also need to add more captions to our videos online, as well as when they're broadcast. That is going to be an investment that we're going to have to make, but it's an important one. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to address any questions that you have.
Any discussion? Ms. Atkinson?
Thank you, Sharice. As always, I'm pleased with the communications in the school system, and I commend you and your team, especially on the 69 FOIA requests. That is considerably a lot. So thank you for all you do and your team. You know, my question was going to be based around the logo, because I've been waiting, and I know it was part of the plan last year. So do you have a projected date on the finish?
At this point, it's likely going to be 2020, and that's for a number of reasons. When we started working on this project, it's more involved than we anticipated, and so getting the students involved in the project and working out the designs is going to take a little bit longer. Now that we have the student prototypes, we need to work with an outside agency, and that essentially involves putting out an RFP, which also will require funding that needs to be identified.
Okay, to follow up on that, because I'm confident, I'm pretty sure our students are confident and or have the skills to do that particular design. So when you say going to an outside agent to refine the logo, are you meaning complete an already drawn design, the actual graphics, the files?
All of that. So a rebranding campaign is going to involve the logo, which is a portion of it. So the outside agency will take the prototypes that the students developed and fine-tune it for our color palette. Additionally, the agency will help us develop a branding guide, which says these are our colors, these are our fonts, these are our styles that we use not only in the logo, but in all PPS documents, website. It is our brand identity. So they will develop that identity and those guidelines with the input from the student prototypes. Additionally, they will help us roll out the rebranding that will involve printed materials, that will involve our website, that will involve letterhead, and it's a very extensive and expansive project. And so the students have done a really great job of doing their portion with the artwork. Being essentially a department of one, it is challenging alone to accomplish that type of task. So it's going to take a little bit longer. The outside agency won't do everything, but their expertise is going to be needed because we haven't had it in quite some time in recent history.
So are we going to be able to see, when are we going to be able to see the prototypes?
I can show you the prototypes that the students have. They're still considered student work, so that's another reason why I did not make them publicly available, but I do have prototypes with me tonight if you want to see what they came up with.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Sharice, at the Council of PTAs earlier this week, the parents were very thankful for the commercials. They said it was very informative, and they said they would like to see more. And even though we get our information out by way of social media, email, they said a lot of people still, I guess, look at television, and if they see it there, it may spark them to go and get more information on it. So I told them, of course, with commercials, you're talking a little bit more money, and you have to budget for that. But they enjoyed it, the security, the attendance. Yeah, and then they came up with some other ideas of some other areas as well that would involve family engagement. So I'll share those with you, and maybe that's something we could look at trying to incorporate.
I just want to publicly thank you, Sharice, and say that since you've come on board, at least for my opinion, you've been a gift and a jewel to our school division, and we really appreciate all the work and hard effort you put in. Even behind the scenes, it does have your name on it. I can look at it and tell when it's Sharice. So I just want to thank you for all that you do. Thank you. All right. Next agenda item 3.3. We had been having some discussions in the operations committee meeting and some concerns that have been coming from our transportation department. So we wanted Dr. Kamari to come on tonight to give a brief discussion update on what's happening in transportation and things that we're doing. So, Dr. Cromartie.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Reverend Taylor. Want to capture this in the context of what some of the challenges are, and then some actions that are currently underway to address some of the challenges. One of our challenges is with efficiency. We operate on a 4-tier system, and we really need to work harder to tighten up the efficiency of our 1st and 2nd tier departures, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Vacancies are an issue, and there are issues throughout the region. We currently have 13 vacancies for bus drivers, and among the bus drivers that we do have in force, there are some absenteeism concerns, with 20 being a common number to have folks out, some on extended leave through FMLA. We know that we need to address some equity and climate issues, specifically pertaining to our lot leaders, and we know the challenges with our bus driver compensation as that ranks regionally. Some of our internal practices, these are things that we do that are really great for kids, and I don't present them tonight for consideration to change. They're good for kids, but they do put a strain on transportation services. Our shuttles throughout the day between high schools, when we have open calls for fill-ins, when we have someone who's routed to do a shuttle but can't because of illness or whatever have you, then that's left at the willingness of someone to take it as an open fill-in. Sometimes that presents challenges as folks are transporting kids all day across the city. We do have buses sometimes that may have 3 or 4 children on, but the bus is the only option we have to transport. Early afternoon athletic travel, now that we're in spring sports with daylight savings times, those events are going to be starting soon, and kids are going to leave to travel to regional competitions. We moved Douglas Park from Tier 2 from Tier 4, and again, this was a good reason. They received a 21st Century grant and are participating nicely in that grant, but the move from Tier 4 to Tier 2 has created some challenges for the rest of the tiers and routes. So to give you an idea of what our tiers look like, again, we have 4. They range from 80 buses in service to 92, and I've got the corresponding dismissal times. So as you can see, it's a very tight window between tiers, and it's heavily reliant on kids getting on buses quickly, buses moving efficiently to get kids home and get on to the 2nd tier. Some of the challenges that we face to the tier system are split routes. Sometimes we have to add students to buses. Oftentimes that's done in the afternoon so that we don't have to double back and make multiple runs. The ideal loading time per school should be 7 to 10 minutes, but currently it ranges somewhere between 15 minutes or longer in some places. One way that we've challenged that or proposed to fix this particular challenge is we've asked our folks in our secondary schools who are part of Tier 1 to move students quickly at dismissal so that buses may depart no later than 2:20. We have a campus or 2 that has had some efficiency problems, and we're working with them to make sure that they can get kids out in a way that's more efficient, scurry kids onto the school buses. At this particular school, there's some socialization that happens, and kids don't usually move with any purpose until those engines start revving up. We're working to convey to them that they should leave the building and immediately board their buses. Some other issues are returning students to school due to no one being at the bus stop to receive them, and this is unavoidable, especially for kindergarten through 2nd grade students and students with special needs. There needs to be an adult at the bus stop to receive them, and if that doesn't happen, that driver has really no option other than to return them to the school. There had been a practice of returning the buses to school based on student behavior and disorderly conduct. We have asked principals and transportation folks to convey to the drivers that unless it's a matter that poses an immediate threat to safety, then it can be dealt with the next business day. If you've got a student who's belligerent and maybe using language that he or she should not be using, but is seated and not causing a public safety concern, that referral can be met the following day as opposed to turning the whole bus around and going back that afternoon. These are natural circumstances, traffic, such as detours and accidents. We've got a number of train crossings here in Portsmouth, and sometimes that happens where a bus is actually sitting waiting for a train to go by. And just your typical traffic congestion. These are all some things that can adversely impact our transportation scheme in the afternoon. We also have out-of-zone coverages for a variety of reasons. We have students who are entitled to special transportation, but they live far away from the school that they attend. In the example that I gave you here, we have an autism program at Simonsdale. Sometimes we have students who live in the Churchland area of the city who participate in that program, and it takes 30 to 45 minutes each way to get kids there. We also have to be cognizant of kids who are displaced temporarily and covered under McKinney-Vento. They live, or they had previously lived, in one school zone, but now they're temporarily misplaced, either staying with another family member in temporary housing. They still have the entitlement to go to the school that they were attending, and we have the obligation to transport them there. And then we have our CSEP and alternative programs that also present challenges to get kids where they need to go. A big concern was with our lot leaders and some equity issues that happen with folks who lead our lots. We have 3 lot leaders. And some of the things that we're working through, Mr. Whiting, Mr. Privet, and I have discussed implementing to help with some of the equity concerns is that lot leaders would transport in the morning and afternoon runs if there are driver outages. The general feeling has been that there's shortages, but lot leaders, though they have buses, in some cases newer buses, aren't rolling up their sleeves and jumping in to help carry that weight. That's going to change. Lot leaders will report to their lots on a consistent basis throughout the day to address issues and concerns that's raised by the drivers. Our lot leaders will ensure that all monitors are informed of coverage changes in a timely manner. Some of the concerns were bus drivers were receiving changes to their routes or additional routes sort of on the fly. We want to be more respectful to them as employees and also more efficient in how we communicate outages and how we're working to accommodate those outages. Lot leaders are going to use sound judgment, consistency, and fairness when writing letters of reprimand on bus drivers. They're going to bring ideas or be expected to bring ideas about improving communication, decreasing absenteeism, and planning for safe and efficient transportation services. Because they're going to be expected to do this, we're going to have to engage them more as partners. They're going to have a greater seat at the table. Lot leaders will not supervise relatives and close family friends. Regrettably, there are 2 issues that I'm aware of prior to this week where we had some lot leaders reporting to close relatives. That's not going to be the case moving forward. Those folks have been reassigned to different lot leaders. Aesthetically, that presents fairness. It's really inappropriate to have folks reporting to folks that they're related to or close family friends with. I asked Mr. Privet and Mr. Whiting to give us some ways we could support them from the divisional level, and they gave us those, and I think that these are things that we can really do to support our transportation efforts. The first is to give more efficient loading times upon dismissal, set the expectation that folks get their buses off campus within 10 minutes after the bell, work with our schools to communicate bus issues, delays, and returns to transportation. So if we have a bus issue that takes place on a campus, whether a bus is disabled, whether a bus has come back, they've got to communicate that to the dispatcher so that we can plan accordingly. Schools are going to provide accurate and valid bus passes to students with special circumstances. Sometimes we have students who have to catch bus A when they ordinarily ride bus C, and we've got to make sure that they have a valid pass to minimize confusion as they try to board the bus and the driver goes, wait a minute, I don't know you, but I'm supposed to be here. They'll have a valid pass to help that go smoother. We're going to ensure that schools document outages correctly to ensure that students know which bus to board when changes are made. In exchange for our effort to do that, we're going to ask that the dispatchers notify the schools no later than 1:30 every day of those changes. These changes are best communicated during afternoon announcements rather than at the loading zone. Our current practice, because of the time that these changes come in, really require us shifting kids once they're out of the building. And as a former principal, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to redirect 70, 80 kids who should be on 2 buses to a 3rd and 4th bus on the fly. And those are our efforts to face some of the challenges that we have, and I will answer any questions if you all have them. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Atkins?
All right. Dr. Kamani, is there an update on the bus app? Because I know that will minimize some of the calls and frustrations by parents if they can track the bus, even if the bus is late. At least the parents know where is that.
Yeah, we do have. We talked about the bus app in senior staff the other morning. For those of you who don't know, we do employ an app to help folks track their kids via navigation. There are 2 ways that they can track. They can track it by bus, which would be the way that I would recommend most often, or they can track it by their individual child, assuming that their child has whatever the device is that helps them do that. So if the question is if that's being used, that is being used. I don't know. It may be too early to tell whether that moves the needle for us favorably or not, but it's being employed.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, I know there have been some I believe, software issues with the vendor also. And basically, when we purchased that system a couple years ago, we piggybacked off of a contract that Virginia Beach had. Now, right now, that company are going through issues with the parent software company, so they're having internal issues which is not allowing us to upgrade our system. So that's causing some issues with the GPS also. So I believe they're going to be researching another system, and that's going to require RFP and all of that. But
yes,
that's currently what's causing some delays with now with GPS tracking device. And you want to finish your question?
Yeah, and I was going to say we definitely should look into another company because even with the timing on the app is not as accurate. So that's causing a lot of confusion too. The time is off on that app. So I think we should look into another company that's more accurate.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Is that app in all of our schools connected to that app?
It's connected to 4 schools right now.
Yeah, 4.
It was a trial. It was given to us on a trial basis, and so those 4 schools that they gave us a trial basis on are still working, to my knowledge, but we don't have access to it.
Mr. Barnes.
So I actually had the opportunity to ride a bus on Friday, and I saw some of the issues that you were addressing. And I noticed you said that the lot leaders would drive buses when there's a significant outage. Do you guys have what you consider a significant outage?
Yeah, they had actually, and by they I mean Mr. Privet and Mr. Whiting, when they gave the language to me, they'd actually put in a number. The number was 5.
Okay.
And I didn't deem it appropriate to put the number in the presentation, but since the question was asked, the number was 5.
Okay.
I would like to thank you, Dr. Cromartie, for the presentation. We all heard of bus issues for the last few years, even before I became a member of the board. But I believe this is one of the first times we actually received the actual plan as to how we're going to address those things. I want to thank you and thank Mr. Whiting and Mr. Privet also. All right. Agenda item 3.4 is the discussion item, budget update for 2019-2020. Dr. Bracey and Mr. Falk.
thank you, sir. The previous budget, the governor's proposed budget that we gave to you before was just that, the governor's proposed budget. So now that we have the House and Senate information, Mr. Falk will give us an overview of what that looks like and in turn what that would mean in terms of our request from the city based on the funding.
Good evening, Reverend Patillo, school board members, Dr. Bracey. The General Assembly adopted their budget amendments to the governor's proposed budget back on February the 29th. After that, the state released what they called their count tool that tells us exactly what Portsmouth gets out of those amendments. After everything was said and done in state revenue would decrease from $93,060,191, which was in the governor's proposed, to $92,514,466, which is $545,725 less than our original estimate that we presented to you back on February the 7th. Some of the reasons for that reduction, basic aid funding went down by $264,433. That is mainly related to changes they made to the guidance counselors initiative. They raised some of the ratios, which caused less funding to come to the localities. Secondly, on the 5% raise that they put into the budget, 3% of that raise they targeted for July the 1st. And the other 2%, they had it starting at September 1st, which basically decreased the amount of revenue that they give us for that raise. That number decreased by about $206,399. There was a couple other slight reductions, one in the funding for Social Security benefits and VRS of $58,762, and then a slight reduction in the at-risk funding of $16,131, and those reductions made up that $545,725,000 less in state revenue. So what is the impact of that? The impact would be when we factor that in, that lowers our state revenue and our total revenue from to 148.1 million, which based on that from the ask from the city, it was originally we had asked for $2,577,848. When you add the $545,725, we would now be asking the city for $3,123,573. So we're adding that state revenue shortfall to the ask to the city to go forward, and that's what we'll be presenting to them when we talk to them on Monday.
And
I just asked Dr. Brace if he could have Mr. Falk upload that information into board docs this evening for us, and I know that they're working to try to get the budget book finished by tomorrow, hopefully, so we can have that before Monday's joint meeting.
that was it.
Ms. Williams and then Mr. Lamb.
Yeah, normally when we get the budget presentation or proposal, it's already uploaded into board docs so that we can see it before we get here. So I'm not sure why it wasn't done this time, but certainly in the future, we've always had that request that we get it before we get to the meeting so we can discuss whatever. And I guess, you know, the governor's talking points or whatever he was presenting was as if the schools were getting so much more money.
Yes.
So this is not the case. I mean,
It's about $500,000 less.
right, what he presented and then what they approved.
Right.
It's always turns out that way, I guess.
So rather than looking through the budget, trying to cut at this point, we just added the shortfall to the ask.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what we shared that with the Finance Committee, is basically saying these were priorities that we shared with you. So rather than going through trying to eliminate to stay at that same figure, we would just ask them for the additional $500,000.
Yes, and you know, we should remember that the state code says we need to ask for our needs. It is our duty to present the budget as needed. So I agree. We do have to make the ask.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes. So, if I recall, and then just clarify, or help me out with this. You had said that, so we're going to be asking the city, the bump up, the increase would be approximately $3.1 million. In the presentation that was given to us, the total amount increase in the total budget was $5.8 million and then some change, if I remember correctly. So are we adding basically the $500,000 to the 5.8? So then that's actually in the needs presentation, there was an increase of $5.8 million that we would be asking someone, or we come up with it ourselves. So my question is, with the additional $500,000, would that bump that 5.8 up or not? Okay.
The $5.8 million was the total dollar change between the entire budget.
Right.
So the entire budget was $151.2 million, and the budget in the prior year was $145,000.3. So
Okay.
what we're doing is we're the state revenue. So when you say that 5.8, or excuse me, 5.9, it's roughly
Right.
5.9. 2.8 of that is coming from an increase in state revenue, the majority of that being compensation supplement revenue. And then the remainder, the $3.1 million is what we're asking for the state. So 3.1, or excuse me, from the city, I'm sorry, 3.1 from the city and 2.8 from the state as an increase equals to $5.9 million.
Okay.
Ms. Allen?
And just clarification, when we get the budget, are we still approving the budget on the 21st? And we're doing the public comment on the proposed budget the same night that we're going to vote on it? Or am I clear on that?
Yes.
And I had a question. No one else has one. When we upload the final budget book, that's going to be uploaded publicly, correct? So that the public can see that, or
When you
just
all
for the
get it.
board?
No.
It's just the board?
Mm-mm.
The public?
Yes.
Okay.
So when it's uploaded tomorrow, it'll be uploaded
Is that the
publicly.
budget book, or is that just the overall presentation that we're
Well,
going to get?
trying to get. We're talking about getting both of them out.
Oh,
we know you'll get the information
Right.
he's discussing now.
Okay.
Okay. But we're also trying to complete the book with the
Budget,
numbers
budget.
and get that uploaded.
And I only ask that way we know the public will have from that point for about 2 weeks to actually preview the budget also before the meeting. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Falk and Dr. Bracy.
Well,
I'm sorry.
excuse me.
Okay.
Before we move from there, have we had a financial council liaison meeting since we met?
Not since that last one.
Since the last one. Okay.
I'm keep a little report on number 2 now. Any more discussion for item 3.4? All right, moving on to 3.5, the agenda for March 21st is uploaded in Board Docs for your review. And are there any questions or concerns or additions? Ms. Atkinson?
I guess probably 2 meetings ago, it was the board's consensus to vote on the increase in board pay, and I have not seen that on the agenda as of yet. So when are we going to vote on that?
Well, I was under the understanding that we were going to vote on it after the budget vote, or do we have to do it before that?
Oh, we would have to do it before
Because that would
it needs
be
to be
included in the
implemented
budget?
in the
Or it would be
budget.
for next year's budget?
Yeah,
I guess it would be a board call if you all want to have it on the next
Can we
meeting.
put it on the next
We would have
agenda?
to.
We would have to,
We would have to move it up, wouldn't we?
yeah.
Because we're voting on the 21st, correct?
Right.
Yeah, we are. Just to clarify with Mr. Meekins,
Yes, sir.
in order for the pay increase to take effect for the next fiscal year, it has to be done by January 1st, correct?
It's a very oddly worded statute. But what it says is that you have to enact it prior to December 30th for it to go into effect January 1st of the next year.
Right.
So it will be for a year after you enact it,
Right.
prior to December 30th, before it ever shows up in your pay.
So 2021.
2021, right.
When is one?
It has to be done because they don't want you to ever, theoretically, the theory behind the statute as worded is that they would expect you to have an election before your pay goes into effect. So the public will have an ability to comment on it, I guess, by way of election.
So technically, if we were to have a vote on it, it would be a vote to be enacted in the 2021
It'll
budget
be in the
year?
next year's budget
2021.
for half of the year, for the
Gotcha, okay.
second half of the
But
year.
next year's budget.
But not the budget we're working on now. The budget you're working on next year will
2021.
include this for 6 months.
Oh,
Fiscal year 2021. So it would not be a vote for this budget, but for fiscal year 2021's budget
to be included.
to be included.
Okay.
So confused.
It doesn't make sense.
said effective.
Oh, well, I'll be
Basically what
gone
he's saying.
then. so-
I'll invite you to look at that statute. It is very oddly worded, but that's, I'm sure I'm correct.
Chairman?
Oh, Mr. Lamb, I'm sorry.
So if I'm understanding the wording of this and kind of how we're trying to understand, so in essence, even if this was put on as an agenda item at the next meeting, it's a vote for something that's not going to even be considered or take place until the 21 budget. So you're voting for an item that's not even going to be affected or that's going to have an impact on anything until 2021. Is basically what I'm understanding of the code.
Would it please the board if we would have Mr. Meekins get just a definite answer on that? And if that's the case, we can still add it to the agenda for next meeting.
My
Exactly.
concern is it has to be done. It can't be done next year.
No, it's got to be done before
Right.
December 30th of
We
this
have
gotta
year.
be done this year.
Regardless, as a board right now, we have to make that decision, and the decisions we make again is for the future as well. So we definitely have to consider that. So that's we can't do it next year. We have to do it even
So
if
is
it's
it-
for the future.
Is it the consensus of the board to put it on the next meeting agenda? I mean, the chairman has to do it, but we can have a
It's
consensus
just being
now.
put
for
on
him to do
here for 2021.
It's
it.
fine.
So it's the consensus.
Just in short, what we're doing.
That's can't do it in an election year.
That's out.
That's fine.
So we'll make note now. I'll make sure I call Mr. Parent, let him know that you all want to add it on the agenda for next meeting on the 21st, and then y'all will work that out.
You want to add it, you don't want to.
Well, technically, Mr. Parent hesitated to do it, but
Well, I mean, we want a request.
request.
Okay.
That's added.
Yeah.
To the-
I'll add it so you're going to vote to give yourselves a raise.
Yeah, did we ever come up with an amount?
Yeah, it was to mirror the amount that the Suffolk board members.
Was it 10?
Right.
Lord, I'm gonna have to run again.
Can you give me the actual wording? You get paid more?
For the agenda item?
Yes.
I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Oh, really? Ms. Shoemaker.
What is the code section for that?
I'll get it for you. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Ms. Allen, then Ms. Atkinson.
Just so I'm clear, the raise, if there is a vote for the raise, does not go into this budget. It's going to go into the budget for 2020, 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, he's saying yeah, y'all saying no.
Because this is 1920.
According to the code he read, you're correct. According to what he's saying.
Okay, because I remembered before at some point we thought that it was going to go 2020 because we had to vote on it in 2019 because it couldn't go forth in an election year,
Right, and I'm
which is
reading it now.
2020.
Yeah, every time we bring it up, we can't.
So
And I just want to be clear, if I'm voting for something in this budget, or am I voting for something that's going to go in the next budget, if I'm trying to understand, because at one point we were told 2020.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me one way or another.
Right.
But at one point it was. I just want to be clear in how, in where the money part in the budget this year or next year. If that makes any sense.
So here-
And now I feel crazy.
And my answer to you is it goes into, it would not be affected, it would not affect this year's budget. The budget that you are working on now, which will be for your next fiscal year, is not affected by this pay raise.
Exactly.
So am I reading this wrong? It says school board serving a county, having a county manager plan of government, and whose membership.
We don't have a county man.
Oh, well,
We're a city board. We're an elected city board.
but I thought this one was the one that applied to us because it say may establish a salary increase prior to July 1 in any year in which 2 of the 5 members are to be elected or appointed. Such increase shall become effective on July 1st of the following year.
We're a city elected.
So is it the next one? Because it's still saying, the next code is still saying effective January 1st of the following year too.
That's right. The difference is
December 31st.
Right.
When's it, July?
And it's saying the following year is the following year.
Okay.
Well,
it cannot be. You cannot vote yourself for pay raise in the same year of an election.
Adam.
You have to vote it in an off election year, and it goes into effect the year after the next election.
That's okay.
After the
Okay,
next
the next
election.
Right.
Okay.
So then that would be we would vote on this next meeting, but since there is a school board election in 2020,
Right.
if it passes, it does not take effect until 2021 because that is the year that there is no school board election.
Exactly.
yeah, that's what he said.
That's what we keep
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
That's not what the code says.
That statute, if you read that statute, it is hard to understand those last two lines, but that's what it means. And can you give me that site? You've already found it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
All right, and if there are any updates to your conclusion, Mr. Meekins, you can let us know. But as of right now, we're asking Ms. Chambers to put it on the agenda for
That's fine.
next meeting on 21st. All right, any other discussion? All right. Yes, okay, we're going to move to item 3.6, which is on leading 3.7, also board member reports and subcommittee reports. I know Ms. Williams is first.
I just wanted to say we had a wonderful time with Dr. Seuss. I saw many pictures, reading to the kids. That was really exciting, Dr. Seuss Day. And I also wanted to follow up with the process. At the last meeting, we discussed the survey results for the uniforms.
Yes.
Okay. Does the board vote on that, or is that a school thing that they determine?
It's more of a school and administrative piece because it was never a board.
Right. I never remembered us voting on it anyway.
Right.
Okay. Can we get a follow-up? Can you talk with the administration there to see where we're going to go, so we will know, so the parents can be informed.
So we can put that information out.
They'll have time for September if they have to get ready.
And I'll let that hear from the teachers.
Talk to everyone, put it all together with the principal, the teachers, and the survey results, and to see what we would like to know.
Okay.
Inquiring minds.
Mr. Barnes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually have that information now, if you'd like to receive it.
Yes.
Mr. Howard and I are going to get together when we return from spring break and plan a couple communications efforts. One will be a letter that's going to go home to all of his folks, advising them of the survey and effective date for the first day of school next year. We'll get that out by the end of April, so parents will have plenty of time. He's also going to do a robocall from his school, and he may work with Ms. Newsom if anything else is required beyond that, because it only pertains to Craddock. He felt when I spoke with him that a letter and him doing a robocall like he would any other matter would set the table for it. Okay. But our implementation timeline's day one of the next school year.
Okay.
And so we do have results and feedback from the staff there also?
We conducted two surveys. Ms. Newsom sent a survey out via school messenger to parents. Right. I created a survey for students, staff, through SurveyMonkey.
Great. Okay.
And we have those data.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, you all.
Ms. Shoemaker. Right.
Okay. So really quickly, February 26th, I had the opportunity to be one of the panel speakers for Collegiate African American Political Leadership Conference at Virginia State University. That was absolutely awesome. I had a wonderful time. I want to thank Dr. Wes Bellamy, who's the Virginia State professor, and Gary Baker, who's political science chairman for Virginia Union University. Huh? That was your professor? Okay. Yeah, he's really awesome. For affording me that opportunity, I spoke about the challenges that African American women face in politics. March 1st, as Honorable Williams just stated, we did Read Across America. I want to say thank you to Miss, is it Cuff? It might be Cuffy. She's a teacher. And Miss Jones, she's an instructional assistant at Douglas Park Elementary School. And Miss Tolbert, who is at Lakeview Elementary School. They had one of the most interactive classes, and they really had their class in order. And I also want to give a shout out to the parents of anybody who has a child in any of those classes, because those children were just absolutely adorable. March 2nd, thanks to Norfolk State University men's basketball coach, Robert Jones, I had the opportunity to have, I think, about 35 children attended the NSU game for free. And that night, NSU was also deemed the 2019 regular season champions. So they actually had an opportunity to see them win that night. So that was great. I have some updates for Portsmouth Council or PTA, if anybody want to participate. Coming up March 9th, the STEM Expo at Wilson at 9 a.m. March 16th, Reflections Award celebration at Wilson is at noon. Let's see here. March 30th, there's a Family Engagement Summit at the Renaissance Hotel. It begins at 9 a.m. The Executive Board meeting, April 2nd, is at Town Bank, second floor, 6 p.m. Please feel free to attend if you're available. We have the end of the year banquet and award celebration at the Renaissance at 6 p.m. on my birthday, May 3rd. So we would love for everyone to attend. And we have on May 7th, the Executive Board meeting, Town Bank, second floor, 6 p.m. Last but not least, August 10th, we have Summer Leadership Retreat at TCC. We would love for you to attend. It starts at 9 a.m. Last but not least, it is Women's History Month. So I have something for my fellow board members to honor them and show my appreciation. So I just want to say thank you from me to you. And you have your initials up here. Aww. This is for you. Thank you. You're welcome. What in the world? Sarah, she's not here. There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And here you are. You are more than welcome.
Those wine glasses.
Not being open. So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Miss
much.
Shoemate.
My initial.
No problem.
Very nice. Thank you.
Were there any other board? Oh, I'm sorry, the sponsors.
I've been going out to the schools and talking with some of the principals and teachers, finding out what events that they're having. I went to Brighton on yesterday, and on the 13th at 6 p.m. at Waters Middle School, they're having a basketball game, 5th and 6th graders against Popville. So they asked, they wanted the board to come out. I told them I would let everybody know. And on March 26th at their school at 6 o'clock, they will be having a talent show. So if you have time, please come out to Brighton Elementary School. I know Clues' son is actually singing. They say he can really blow.
What? What's the dates again?
That's if he behaves.
March 26th at 6, and the game is on Wednesday, on March 13th, and it's at Waters Middle School. It's the 5th and 6th graders at Popview versus the 5th and 6th graders at Brighton Elementary School, and they're going to have cheerleaders, uniforms, new uniforms, all that good stuff. So
That's wonderful.
make sure you come out if you have time.
What time was that, the game?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, they sent me a flyer today. I'm going to post it.
Okay.
I can actually send it to Sharice too if you want to post about it. The game that they're having on Wednesday. They sent the flyer to me today.
And one other thing I'd like to report that yesterday we were fortunate, some of the ladies from the organization I'm in, the Portsmouth Chapter of Links, we were fortunate to go to Churchland High School with their art scholars. And Miss Davenport, who is the supervisor, had called me. She wanted to do it for Black History Month. The ladies with the wide hats, you know, like the church ladies or whatever, the students were drawing it. We were posing, and they drew the pictures of us. And it was absolutely wonderful. So I posted it all over Facebook, and she wanted 4 or 5 because of the time, because we got there maybe 1:15, and it was over like 2 something. But we have been collaborating with Portsmouth Public Schools, I guess, for maybe the last 15, probably going on 20 years, doing our budding young artists contest. And throughout that period, we have given over $10,000+ that we award the the contestant winners every year. So she said that she wanted to do something nice for the ladies because we always do so many nice things for the students. We do the piano in the schools at John Tyler, where we sponsor the piano lessons for the kids. And the art contest is in all of the high schools at Churchland, Norcom, and Wilson. So yesterday, there are some very gifted students that these were all Churchland students that did the drawings. They were so nice. They were very personable. They said, just sit and do your phone, read. We want you to be natural. And they took the time to do our drawings. So that was quite a wonderful experience for us. I want to thank Dr. Bracy for allowing us to come into the schools to do that.
We appreciate you all doing it.
Ms. Allen.
Monday, I believe it was Monday, at the invitation of Marquise Hunt, who is an alum of Churchland High School. He was the keynote speaker for a Black History program there. It was an awesome experience. Mr. Malachi and the team over at Churchland High did an excellent job. The step team, the choir was beyond amazing. And it's just another opportunity where our alum come back to the schools and participate. Marquise is a student at Tougaloo University, very involved in our community. So it's great to see our people that leave, go out, do great things, but also come back. So I know his brother also attends there, Miles, and they're both sharp dressers, so it must run in the family. But it was a great event, and the people really enjoyed it. So shout out to Mr. Malachi, Marquise Hunt, and the team over at Churchland High.
Exactly.
My question is for Dr. Bracy. Dr. Bracy, where are we on the online rental agreements? Because I'm still getting complaints from like staff and community members saying that they are having issues with getting those agreements in the schools and principals signing them and being accessible. Like they saying it's a struggle to rent the school. So I thought we were going towards the online.
It is online. It's actually active now.
It's active?
Yes. I receive them now by way of that.
Community tab. We're going to the community tab. School and building rentals.
Right.
Master library.
And just to follow up, are the principals aware that Portsmouth Public employees get rent the facilities for free? Because I did have some school employees that made a complaint saying the principals.
They don't get it. They don't get it for free. No.
That's what our code say. School employee groups.
Employee groups, like the history department of IC Norcom, or yes, that's something that the principal they send forward.
That school employee groups are having issues with getting the buildings for free.
Do they go through the principal of the school?
Yes. Are they having a school event?
Yes.
I mean,
oh no!
I mean, that's a legitimate question. Because why would somebody say no if they're having a school event at their school or at a school?
Right. I've never run into any that I've had.
I'll take it offline with you.
Yeah, we'll go.
All right. Well, any other reports to give? Last Finance Committee, they did cover the budget update, and the only thing that I want to bring forward from the meeting was last month we voted for an appropriation for our grants fund to be reappropriated. The city wanted to confer with our staff about the number to make sure the number is what they have after they did their check. So they're meeting with their staff this week. If there's a change in the number, we will have to do another reappropriation vote at our next meeting if there's a change. So they just confirm and make sure they have the same numbers for the grant fund.
When you say their check, are you saying if it's grant money designated for a certain I mean, do they get, what, 25%? I mean...
No, they don't get any of the grant fund, but basically when they're going through their budget reappropriation, the amount, I guess they want to make sure that their amount lines up with the amount we actually asked for reappropriation for. Yeah, it's, yeah. No, they're not getting any of that grant fund.
No, and it's carryover funds anyway.
Right. Yeah, they can't say yes or no to grant
Yeah,
funds.
that's
They
why I
have to
was a
carry it
little
over.
confused when you said...
Oh, they just want to make sure their amount was the same that we had now.
Well, did you all resolve the issue for them?
Bless you.
Bless you, sugar.
Next week, we sit down and go over that. Yeah, yeah. That'll be done next week. We've
Because
talked
we
about
wanted
it.
to document it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, the grant.
After after Mr. Falk meets with Ms. Washington next week, then we'll follow up with them. Yeah, and Dr. Patton and I have been
talking.
Yes.
In response to that memo
Yes.
that he.
And the only other thing I just want to say, I want to thank Mr. Falk and his team also for working diligently on the budget. I know it's a tough task and it's hard to take our needs and fit into a tight budget. So thank you for the work that you all have done.
And my staff too, they work extremely hard to help us get all the numbers together so they're accurate and that everybody can understand them. So I want to give them kudos as well.
Thank you. Yeah. And just want to do a brief reminder also that April the 8th is the VSBA regional network meeting at Fred Cherry Middle School. And if you all would like to attend, if you haven't already replied to Ms. Chambers, please do so that she can register you for that event. Also, I'll be attending the Board of Directors meeting for VSBA on next week, March the 15th. And I believe the only voting items we have are for a couple of new policy changes, but I will get that to the policy committee if we do vote on those next week. And on Monday, this coming Monday, will be our joint meeting with City Council. The email has already gone out and a call letter. And that meeting is to start at 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am. I believe you have your hand up. Oh, Ms. Axe, I'm sorry.
Two things. Can we communicate to the public that this is now available online? Because I didn't know it was available, and I'm pretty sure other people didn't know as well.
I think I recall a notice going out a little while ago in reference.
Yes, we do have a communications plan for that item. We can always send it out again. There's actually, I think the article is still on the front page.
Right.
It goes on social media. So we can re-up.
Right. And also, Dr. Percy, so just as a person, I can use this form and I don't have to go to the school anymore. So I'm not printing this out and taking it to the school. This is the process right now.
Right.
Okay. And once they get to the insurance portion, if they don't have the insurance at the time, is it going to allow them to move forward? Because sometimes you can't get a group policy until your date is confirmed.
That's something I think that can be added, but they will need it before the event.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, but I think either Mr. White and I think you can move forward, but you have to turn it in, right?
That's correct.
Right.
Okay,
You can still move forward,
I
but
know
you
you
turn it
can't
in
get a
later.
policy until you actually have your date.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure it doesn't block.
Great question. Thank you. Was there anything else? There are no other comments? Oh, sorry, Mr. Lane.
Yeah, just real quick, something just struck my mind. I was thinking with what Board Member Williams was thinking about, but also too, did we ever get clarified and straightened out with regards to the absentee letters that was being sent out, and actually who was doing it? I mean, are teachers still sending these out by 1, 3, 9, 5 days?
We're actually going to have a report on the 21st, the attendance update, because that was something that you all had asked for.
Right.
So at that early session, we plan to provide an update on where we are with attendance and what we've done up until this point.
Okay, I would like to know too in that update, if we can, exactly who is sending them out, and so and the actual steps, because I've heard 1, 3, 5, 9, 13 and so forth with these letters.
Ms. Williams?
Yeah. And I do recall, I think I had a discussion with Dr. Bracy. My concern was to add more work for the teachers to send them out if we have attendance officers at the schools. And to me, they should be doing that instead of, I thought that was the purpose of having them there, instead of adding more work for the teachers to have to send those out. So could you update us on that, and if that's not being done, we will.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can I get a motion for 4.1 adjournment?
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Axon, second by Mr. Lamb. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Have a great night.